tasked Nathan with trying to get us thinking about the releases in a different way.
Cool.
So, what I would do.
So I was thinking about this past week or so, the best way to describe it. I think an important piece is the first connection, as soon as you get touched. That's the most important part of the release, because that's what defines what happens to you. Just grab it. His motion, no matter whether he's pulling, pushing, whatever, what I need to do is not worry about this hand. That's the scary hand, right? If somebody's grabbing with one hand, my general thought is they're grabbing to strike with the other hand. If they're grabbing with two hands, they're grabbing to control whatever they're grabbing. That's the basic way I see it. So if someone's grabbing with one hand, my initial thought is I need to at least attempt to keep the rest of his body at bay. So I don't want to pull his body towards me, right? I want to at least prevent his body from coming forward. Beginning. Does that make sense? So I'm entering. So my first movement is entering. I do that with a slight drop of a step in. Once it's there, at this point, it depends on what happens from here, whether he's strong or not, what I need to do. I'm a big believer in I'm not going to win, so I'm going to find another route. So if I was amazing and awesome, which please pretend that I am, and fall straight down. Boom. I'm great. Wonderful. I won't get that on him. I'll get up here, and I'll hit that, and that's okay. I still have my keto to fall back on. But I always try and start everything off by stopping them, going right in, and straight down. Now, you may recognize what he mentioned. Oh, look, it didn't hit my center. It's down, up, turn, down. It's the same thing that we just did. Just across this one. From a static position, grab on. I can't enter this way. Down, up, turn, now. I can. So we want to create it from whatever position you're in. Down, up, elbow underneath, Aiki, rotate, and down. That's pretty much what you were talking about. So yeah, good. All right, that's great. That's weird. Yeah. So play with that. Oh, wait, one more thing, real quickly. A couple exercises we can do just to help build that. I forgot this. I meant to mention this. I step forward, and he's grabbing my wrist. I want to step forward and just be present forward and just stop his body. You can do that a few times, just switch hands. Not doing anything, just a little exercise to get used to. If you feel yourself collapse, you weren't opening, you weren't extending. If you need to, open the other hand, extend, expand, get a little bit of movement there. Then you can start working to doing it up, 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 up. Then you can do it without stepping. Up, up. So a couple things you can play with to get used to starting that movement before you do it. So cool, do that. Alright, so I have questions about this. So Nathan, not stuck like this. I'm getting kind of a rigid wall. Okay, so structurally, we're set up. I'm strong, base, up. I'm pulling out the top of my spine, sinking into my feet, expanding forward, ideally backwards as well. I want to be expanding out to maintain my space, but this is very rigid and structural. We want to begin that connection to start our body being rigid and structural on the inside. The outside is malleable and soft. So I want to start. Release that tension in the outer structure. My muscles release and relax so that they can freely move. But try to maintain that structural integrity on the inside.
Quick question for you, Nick. So,
Right?
are we still under the guidance that we're not supposed to be moving?
Oh, sorry. Yes, have it. No, it doesn't matter. This we're working on the idea of just getting better at the connection and the movement of moving them or getting through them. But if I do it without moving my feet, it's there. It's harder.
How about one free bullet? One free bullet, and it's
I like that.
It's big and hard. That's all that's good. Okay, got it.
But, so, a way to practice this that I like a lot. Actually, for a moment, I want to talk about the levels of Muke. I have this thing that I use as a training tool called there's 3 levels of Muke, of being Muke. Level 1 is anything that you feel, you move with. You let anything happen to you that's happened. You don't fight anything, you're here. Very soft, but any movement you make, I'm going to give you a representation of that movement amplified inside of you. Right? That's the very base level of Ukemi, which is extremely useful for beginning to learn the ideas of the technique. It helps build confidence in somebody to know, oh, I'm moving the right direction, I have this moving, I can get stuff going, great. The next level is the same thing. I'm not going to fight and stop them, but I'm not going to let things happen that aren't actually affecting me, right? So if he starts pushing right here, that's not really, it's hitting my structure and I'm stalling. I'm not fighting him, I'm just not giving it away, right? But if he picks that pressure in there the same way, but he ends up going down underneath it, oh, that made a difference. I'm going to let that happen. I'm going to allow him to make these movements and go through. The third level, I'm going to fight it, I'm going to resist it actively, so he can't do anything with it. He has to make it right. Now, is that valid? Absolutely. We have to have that level 3. Otherwise, what are we doing? But the Goldilocks learning zone is somewhere between level 1 and level 2. Does that make sense? So right now, doing something you're not used to doing, try and maintain that level 1, level 2 until your partner has a bit of a better feeling. And then, hey, move to level 3. Oh, it didn't work? Let's go back. Let's find out why. Right? Make sense? Cool. So, this exercise, I want you to start with a flat hand like this. And all I want you to think about is filling the hand up with your hand. So if I do this, I'm not utilizing all of the real estate that I have for connection. I want to fill that space up, keep that full, enter in, try and fill it, try and turn it, move it, and down. It's the same thing, over here, as 1, 2, 3. That's the movement I'm doing. I'm just doing it. 1, 2, 3. Still the same number of steps, just not big movements. Does that make sense? Cool. So just try and fill that. Be a nice level 1 nuke. Work your way up to level 2. Fold your way around and fill it up and see what happens.
Can I ask a question?
Hi.
In this exercise that we were just doing,
Yes.
when I was presenting down here, and I felt like that made it much harder to do. I noticed when you're presenting up here.
So when we're doing it very static, I'm presenting up here.
Yes.
Because in my mind, you're reaching out to grab.
Right?
I'm meeting it.
Okay.
That's one. I'm not presenting from a disadvantaged position. I'm presenting from where I'm in control. Yes. Yeah. Let's present the reactive early timing instead of late timing. Cool. Play with that.
I want Jason to help us.
Well, first of all, what kind of problems? What kind of problems?
Let's see. I, for instance, I'm trying to attack the center, but I feel like this particular interaction is like locking me up instead of everything that I do.
So, for the moment, forget about attacking the center.
Okay.
Just worry about filling my hand. Don't move anything. Fill my hand. Just fill it. That's attacking my center.
Okay.
Right? A very small level, that's attacking. That's starting to attack my center. So fill my hand. That's right there. That's all the attack you need to do. Now, fill it down. Put it on your what does it used to say? Put a milk jug in your hand.
Okay. Got it.
Here. Oh, yes. Yes.
Oh, I don't know. That's a hard one. Okay, thank you.
What other issues? Not everybody knows.
Yeah, there is something about like being able to get the.
Starting here is harder. I can't hit the center as well as if I start here.
I'm filling my center, go back there. So forget about my center for the moment. Just think about filling my hand with it. Just fill it. Stick to it. You're hitting my center now,
Okay.
right? It doesn't have to be so big and visible. Now, when we do it in full motion, your whole body's moving, it's a lot more. But doing it this way, you can start to begin that now, just start to turn it over. Keep it full. If you had a ball, and you're holding a ball, and that ball is stationary, right? If you start turning your hand over like this, the ball's moving. Move yourself around that ball. So it's still filling my hand. Yes.
Square,
The problem
Adriel,
that I'm still
square your
having
hips.
To some degree is once I engage your center and I start to turn, I release your center and focus on the turn, right? So I have to keep that center engaged as I'm turning.
Yes, always be entering.
Yes.
Put that on the mug. Always be entering. Coffee's for enterers. Always be entering. That's a real reference. It's good.
I was reading a list of like principles that I've been collecting from various Daitodo teachers over the years, and one of them is never let them touch your center, touch their center. And I think that kind of goes into you're always entering into them as opposed to this go-no-sin idea where you're getting collapsed upon. That's a good thing to know how to get out of, but we're kind of working on the best case scenario this time,
Correct, yes,
worst
yeah.
case scenario.
Yeah. Well, the reason for that is because, now, to be fair, am I going to do this to somebody who's, no. But if I can work my way to where when adrenaline is hitting, everything moves faster, our muscles are tense, we're strong, whatever you do comes out in training. So if you start to train softer, to at least to learn and get better at that, when adrenaline hits, ideally, you'll have a little bit softer reaction than you would otherwise. Does that make sense? That's what we're trying to work on here. But, best case scenario, I get the connection, I roll it over, and I drop it in here. If I start that movement and I get to where I'm stuck, I can't go any farther forward. I can't win, I can't make it. I don't have to maintain that road. That's not the only avenue to get where I need to be. Because my goal is to just be behind you, or to get to your face, or do something. Well, this, I don't care about it anymore. That doesn't have to be all of this. I always try to do it, level 3. I always try to have it all, right? That's my goal, I want that. But if I come here and I don't have that, I'm going to move. So here, okay? Yeah, that's going to be fast. I'm going to move to something else. I have a backup plan, and that backup plan is change. But I want to work on this because this is better for me, principally. Better for me in the art that I want to study. It's cool! And I'm a magician. And I want that. It's magic. Or what?
So, I have a question.
Yes.
How do I take these principles and apply them to striking? Because everything we've done is from a grab.
Great. So, ultimately, this movement is rolling your shoulder over and putting you down. Right? From a strike, I want to roll your shoulder over and put it down here. Right? So I want to start that connection. I'm not going to get that if I do this.
Right.
I need to have that to move over. I need to be entering underneath, up, roll, turn. Okay? So it's the beginning movements of everything. As far as
Here?
all right. So we can move on to the second release motion. Fourth order for people on the here. We'll do this. Maybe somebody. Okay. Sure. So the second release motion, Tomiki style, or let's say I don't even know what you do Geisen style anymore, but Tomiki style is they push through. So what is happening in this? Just gonna stop. His momentum is coming through and down. I need to make sure that I am turned to the rest of my center so that it stops from pulling me off balance. And once he passes through, I come up into a position where he's in the spot. Right? Essentially, that's what's happening. Well, with my hand here, if we try and create a similar idea from that, like we were doing on number 1, let's turn that way so, no, face it. Sorry, like there. So we're going to see. So, if I have the same idea of I'm a flat here, I want to turn the hand and fill it, it's going to set up very similar to that. Right? A couple things you can do with this. We're doing the same exercise, but if we fill and do that kind of turning and corkscrew down, we have that direction. If you maintain the connection and go the other direction, also here, you have that way. If you pronounce the down, here this direction, then cut across, bring it back up, you can try and set up. Let me see if I can still do that. Just do that motion. That's been a long time.
With a pinning one.
Too much hands. I've done it forever. Oh, it was there. I punched him in the face, but it was there. You good? I did all right. But the general idea is we want to, again, his movement's coming this way, we want to stop the movement. Then turn it down and turn. With a grab, it's forward to stop the movement, turn, motion. Sure. That looks cool with this action one. Why didn't we do it that way? I have to get the timing just right. But it's up, turn, down, turn. It's the same thing as we're doing in the full big one. We're just doing it here instead. But important piece is stopping his body. He's grabbing with one hand, what's the other hand doing? Attacking. I need to stop him from attacking. Go, put it back. So you can do the full grab or the hand touch. Find your way through it. So,
How many ways am I doing it wrong?
okay. This corkscrewing motion down here, a good way to get to where you can visualize that a bit better is to, if I were to do a forward roll, notice the rotation and corkscrew my arm is making to make that wheel. Grab one. Strong. That same corkscrew is happening here. For that forward.
But you're hitting the center first,
I'm
right?
in the center first, yes. Yes. I am stopping the center, corkscrewing down. Right. So there is a, are you okay with that? There is a dietary technique this way. There. But it just cuts it in half. It's the same technique, the same throw, it's just cut it down. But if I soften it and don't down at the end, I get that rotation. But that corkscrewing down that way is really beneficial movement in a lot of things that we do. When I do number 5 release, I don't step out like this. I start with that corkscrewing attacking the center, and then up here, because that keeps his body away from me the whole time. It puts pressure against you, because I want to keep you at bay. If you're throwing my approach, it's not just this, it is, feel the difference between here and here. Straight down. So that stepping and corkscrew, winding into myself. Corte could be that way, if you want it to be. You want to throw it that way. Any kind of throw you want to do, you can do that kind of inward spiral for a throw. Let's start with that. When they grab, start with stop the center, and then begin a forward roll while maintaining pressure against them. Try that. Questions?
It's okay, awesome.
Cool. Good. Cool. Try it.
Put the spine up for both directional.
So I like the elongated spine to try and stabilize myself in a vertical form. So put your hand on my shoulder, and I'm going to be locked down. Push into me. If I'm locked, eventually that tree will just topple over. If I just relax, it will still topple over, but it took longer. You didn't have that immediate catch in a second.
It was far less of a rigid element for me to.
Yes. So if I relax and draw down, rooting into the ground, it took a lot more. Cool. If I now add down and up, so relax, down and up. Oh, it took a lot, yeah, right? And if I was better, probably would have moved. But if I now add another direction, I have down and up, go ahead, down and up, and then I attack him. If I attack only him, pull it away, I'm falling into him. If, down, up, attack him, and that way equally, pull it away when I'm going to, I was stable and in one space. I think right now I'm working on up, down, and side to side. I think it would be cool if I could get side to side and front and back, and then eventually maybe those directions.
Yeah.
That would be really cool. Maybe another 40 years ago, those maybe. But I find that works really well when I'm working on the releases. The thing we did yesterday, when I'm stopping somebody here, I'm trying to have that down and up and forward and back. I'm trying to have that stability to stop the movement coming towards me, whatever angle it is. So a fun thing to do with this is play with that some. You can try to be rigid first to see how easy it is and try and relax and see what your muscle tension does in difference. But if you press in, if you just start, imagine corkscrewing and drilling down into the floor through the earth from your tailbone and putting your head in the clouds. And for your tip of your spine, just draw straight up and try and match whatever power is coming in this way, match that equally, splitting it 50-50 up and down. And if more comes in, add more. Yeah, that's pretty stable. That's not bad. Just a way to try and make yourself a bit more stable. So, also, I'm sitting at a computer desk all day long, so they're trying to pull this out, so I'm doing this. So I try to get a lot of practice in that drawing up and down. But play with that some. It's kind of a fun thing to do with partners.
Nathan and I were just talking about, there's a technique called uchite, hand, like in karate. Grabbing the inside and go.
Oh,
Yeah.
You'll notice is Nikyo. Set up for Nikyo as a joint manipulation of lawn is very painful. We're not taking pain, we're taking structure. So pain is okay, pain will happen, it can happen, but the goal is not pain. The goal is taking structure. If I apply pain, then other things start taking over and other alarms go off. So I don't want to crush into this because he's going to let go and punch. Instead, I want to connect to this and get it a little bit softer and then through him. So there's not really pain, but his body's kind of collapsing. So the way that this guy's doing this is, I don't want to press down into his hand, right? I want to connect a bit more to him. Let's turn this way so people can see.
I was trying to also.
Oh, very good. I'm sorry. Yeah. It's hard to describe. I use analogies a lot because it's the only way that I function. So if my hand is here, I don't want to push down. I want to turn a knob. So I'm going to draw my pinky towards me and my thumb towards him this way. Which kind of, it's just pulling this thing tighter. That's all it's doing there. But it's not strong. I'm just drawing through there. Again, I don't want to press into this. I want to move something else.
Are you drawing the
So my elbow
skin?
will come up.
Are you drawing the skin?
Yes.
The
drawing
surface?
skin. Yep.
Okay.
Draw here, and my elbow is going to come up. And then this next part, George Ledyard used this example, and I liked it a lot. He said, a ball of energy goes up out of my head, floats over them, and lays through them. Really, it's bowing, but I'm not bowing by retreating. I'm bowing by entering. Right? So if I bow by retreating, I press down here. Be standing strong. Right? If I bow through him, so I'm always entering. Does that make sense? If you don't want to do it, try and do it with all the fancy connection stuff, you can still always just hold it and it will not come off. but you want to try and get as much as you can to where it's not paint. Is there paint there? No. No, but it's through and down. Give it a shot, give it a try. Don't you go.
Yes, Nathan, the next step of this particular exercise into the smooth
Drop wave.
Yeah.
So, visually, I like to think of this as a wave, like a giant wave of water. So, this drawing here, up and over, it's the undercurrent of that big wave, up, and crashing over, right? But to pull that slack out, just standing in the ground, grab it, and so right now, he has that slack in his arm, he has slack in his body. I'm sucking that slack out to where he starts tightening up as I elongate my spine, and then put it down over the top. But it's drawing underneath and over on top. You may recognize the big wave forms. It's the same thing. It's drawing underneath, up, and through. When we do that from here. So in a bigger form of this, if you start losing this, like I said, you can't always hold on to there. It doesn't have to be this type of draw here. It can be the more classical here. But we're setting up the same slack pulling roll. It's still that form. Cool.
So for you Tomiki guys, this is the third release motion.
Yes, it is. Oh, here. Actually, so we can also do the work on the same way from that. Put a flat hand, we were doing yesterday with those things. Put a little bit of pressure on there. I want to roll up underneath him to draw that slack out. And there, it's the same technique. Same, number 2 release.
Just do that.
Okay.
You're out!
At this point, has everyone felt at one time where they're like, oh damn, like whether receiving it or doing it? Anybody have the oh damn moment? Because yeah, Nathan just like blew my socks off there. So anyways, Nathan had something to add that might help with this same pattern, but he wanted to do it to Patrick. So Patrick, your emphasis on the crushing down
From okay, great. I'm sorry. I've talked a lot and I don't know what he wants me to say. So if I can get a good solid crushing down, I don't need as much of an up. I can shift it to the side. So yeah, if I start to crush, my goal, I want him to sit down from the crush. I want to crush him down. Once that's crushed there, it doesn't take as much to get past the crush. Because he's here, I don't need a giant up, I just need it to release.
We got the laugh.
I keep it.
Can't do that again.
You're absolutely right. I want to crush down. Hey, I did it again. Woo. No.
Will you demonstrate the why?
Oh, okay, yeah. George and I talked about this a long time ago from Judy groups. So he's stable and strong here. If I start adding weight to him, he has to deal with the added weight, and then I let that weight go, and I have a lift. Right? It doesn't take much to get, if he's standing strong here, and I try to move him, no, if I add a bunch of weight to him, let it go, a little bit easier to move. That's all it is. Just weighting some, and then releasing the weight.
That's exactly what I was.
Judo trick.
Because that's the first technique that I taught in the Tokyo Karate thing. It was judo grips, bury your weight in your 1 foot.
Yep.
And when you stand back up, this looks like.
Yeah, same thing. Same idea. So when you're here, I want to bury it down so that your weight gets stuck. And then
That's
It's hard as hell, but yeah, like I said, I think it's cool. And it really is, it's easy, hard, sort of, and it's all you man, deep stuff you don't understand.
There's a lot of that.
Yeah. Cool. So, do that.
Yeah, do
Do
that.
that. Crush more. Crush more.
See, okay, let me say one thing your goal in this, if you can get that type of thing, is really I want his belt to come forward and his head to go backwards. I want to get that spine this way. So that releasing, I'm crushing down, that releasing is drawing his knot towards me.
Yeah.
And then up to him. Because I want to go, whoop, I want his hips to throw forward. So it's down, crush. Do that. Ooh. So sometimes it's valuable for a class to pick somebody that's having lots of trouble with stuff and to pick it apart as a group, throw in hurtling insults and mocking as we go. So he wanted to throw somebody. Let's throw Nathan. I'm sick of falling.
All right. So from the time that I was like brown belt or black belt, Yan Kata, the beginning of it was like my personal nemesis. And they put all these conditions on you. Like it's no big deal, but they put conditions on you like it should be self-defense applicable. And you're supposed to make big motions, sweeping motions. And it's supposed to be light as a feather. So that's like a three-way bind. There's no way to get like street effective, big motion, light as a feather, or it's going to take a lot more than my brain power to figure out how to do that. So I beat my head against Yan Kata for 20 years, and then said, screw it, I don't care if it's street effective. I'm going to take that condition out and see if I can learn how to do this thing. And furthermore, I don't care if it's big motion or light as a feather either. So I took my uke and put him here and had him be moderately stable, but not an asshole about it. And get a grip and push into him and see if I could get under him enough that I can convince him to trade places with me. Okay? So that's the whole game, is take a motionless uke that's moderately stable and get under him enough to make him trade places with you. If you can do that, then while he's doing all of his steps, you can throw him down at will. In order to do this, here's what I'm thinking, is push in just enough to feel him pushing back. If I push in just a little bit and he's not falling over, then he's pushing back on me. Now there's a second problem, is when I push in enough to take the slack out of my skin and I try to throw him over here, the slack comes back. So I cannot change directions like 180 degrees at the same time at once. So I changed to up, then I changed to over here, then I changed to here, and he's willing to trade places with me. So the feel of this thing is in, up, that way, and that way behind me. So I figured that you could look at this and tell me why that sucks and where I should go from there.
I got it. So, no more young on that.
Right.
With this one, Chris Garrett was there to witness. I did it so perfectly great to my dad that his feet went up, his head went boom into the ground. Yeah, it was, but there was a witness.
Have fun.
Yeah, so I started working the way that you were doing it for a long time once I saw you do that. And then I started trying to shrink it down. That's one of my goals, to make everything as small as possible. I found a good starting metric to think about is with my entry and up, I want to put a shomanate in the face and an elbow in the stomach. First beginning form of direction, which is here, right? So enter the same thing you did. And then, once I step here, I want to switch places, my elbow and my hand. Here. And then back down.
That's fun.
Right? So when you reach out to grab, it's
Crossface.
like that. We've made it a lot smaller, right? Right?
Oh,
Now,
fine.
I usually drop down to a knee because I get to that spot and then stop, so I don't have to drop down to a knee. Once I started doing more Dai-through, I found that this was a rotation to here, taking him just off, and then straight down. So the same thing, a little more structure, up, over, down, to there. And then yesterday we worked on the smallest version that I've been working on from that, for essentially for our number 2 release. Good. No, this ain't for month. Was in crash.
That's cool.